Hi, it's Brian Larsen again. You can find me on larsenbridge.com and book time with me to consult about your professional career, about your job opportunities, about your company, and about your approach to customers. For free, no catch, ever. Find me on larsenbridge.com. Link is above. Today I'm going to give a talk. I think it's the talk that started it all. It's a talk that I gave once, and I decided I was going to give again and again and again. It's called Let Jerry Putt. For those of you who have heard it, welcome back. Let me put a pin in that for a second. It reminded me, as I was thinking about this talk, of a time I was in London, and there was a guy doing a street gambling game, and he had tape lines about 6 feet apart on Piccadilly Square. And he had rigged a bike so that when you turned right, the wheel would go left. And when you turned left, the wheel would go right, opposite of what's normal. And he would do it. He would bet you £1 that you couldn't get across the tape line without putting your feet down. And so he would do it. He'd go from one tape line to the other without putting his feet down. And then you'd pay him £1. I didn't, but I watched many people do it. And no one could do it. And the nuance of this sort of gambling game is that when you're riding a bike, it's something natural to you, right? Just like the adage, it's like riding a bike. But you're making millions of micro adjustments. Millions. And you don't even realize it. It's subconscious. And so what would happen is if someone start to go and they go to just make one of those micro adjustments, the wheel will go the opposite way, boom, foot goes down. And no one could do it. Now he did it by sort of like coasting. He'd push off and then he'd just hold and go over the line. But your instinct is to make micro adjustments. And that's how we stay in balance on a bike. Okay, so let Jerry putt. That's a very micro adjustment, right? Millions of micro adjustments. I was working in 2005 at TPC Dearborn, and I worked for a boss who was difficult, but he got great results. About 25 people working for him. And he had this rule. You could punch in 15 minutes early, and so you could have coffee and breakfast, 15 minutes, they'd pay you. But you had to be at the board, the appointed stand-up time, the assignment board. And it was a stand-up, 20 people in a room, 25 people. And that changed. It's normally 6 o'clock or 5:30, about a half hour before sunset or sunrise on golf courses. If you weren't at the board, you were sent home without pay. If that happened twice, you're fired. And it happened 2 or 3 times this summer I was there. Now you could call in sick, your car broke down, that's not what he's talking about. But he had a rule. Had to be there at the board on time. He'd pay you 15 minutes, but you had to be on time. So fast forward a little bit, we're preparing for the Senior Players Championship. It's a few days before the tournament, and the course is getting really tight. I mean, everything's minor adjustments to everything. And I was mowing the 14th green. We were walk mowing, and they mowed like less than 3/8 of an inch. It's a tight margin. And every now and again on a walk mower, you pick up a rock, and it puts a little ding in the blade. And it was really common, and you can see it. There's a little mohawk in your strip, and you go, uh-oh, got a mohawk. So I got a mohawk on 14. I called into the shop, said, yeah, come on in, we'll buff it out. Went in, they buffed it out, and my boss comes up to me, he says, okay, go cut 2 stripes in the 9th green. I'll be right up there to check it. It's okay. I take the mower up to the 9th green, and as I pull up to the 9th green, on the 9th green is 1976 U.S. Open champion, Jerry Putt. Now, Jerry Putt was older at this point. He's on the senior tour, but back in 76, he had the floppy blonde hair and the big bell-bottom plaid pants. He was a stylish California kid who won the U.S. Open. And he's got like 10 balls on the green, and he's putting from different positions, and he's sort of practicing on the green. And so as I'm pulling up, I'm like, oh, it's Jerry Putt. What am I going to say to Jerry Putt? And so I said, okay, I could see the shop. It was about 300, 400 yards away. And I could see the cart path. And so I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull way off to the side, like 20 yards away, up on the hill there in the shade. And I'm going to sort of pretend to tinker with the mower a little bit. Just not to bother Mr. Putt. And when I see my boss coming down the cart path, boom, I'll pop up the mower, I'll get the 2 stripes cut, and we'll be good to go. 5 minutes go by, maybe 7. And sure enough, I see my boss coming. So I pop the mower down, I fire it up, I get down to the green, I say, excuse me, Mr. Putt, I cut 2 stripes. Just as I'm coming off the green, my boss is pulling up, he gets out of the cart, he takes a look, no more mohawks, it's great, go finish 14. It's okay. He stays a while and talks to Mr. Putt. I go to 14, I start mowing, And 2-3 minutes later, he comes up to the green and he's giving me the cut sign, like cut the mower. So, oh no, he must see the stripe. There must be something wrong still with the mower. And he walks up to me on that green and gets as close as I am to this camera. And he starts wagging his finger in my face. And he says, when I tell you to cut a stripe, you cut that right away. You don't bleep, bleep, bleep. Think for yourself. You do what I tell you to do when I tell you to do it. And I thought to myself, gosh, I'm just not going to work for this guy again. And I wasn't hot-headed about it. I didn't fight with him back. I said, yes, sir, understood. I finished my job. I knew how his rules were. He's in charge. This wasn't an ego thing for me, but it taught me something. That's one way to lead. But it doesn't give room for people to make decisions. Was I wrong in letting Jerry putt? I don't think so. But even if I was, is there a way to correct that without wagging a finger, dropping F-bombs on me on a green? Yeah, there's a lot better ways to do that. And so when I think about employees that are working for me, or when I think about my relationship with my boss and managing up into my boss, I often recall that scenario. And I think, gosh, I need to allow my employees to make decisions in time for what they think is best. If they're just doing what I tell them to do, we're going nowhere. I had a recent employee tell me, less metaphors, less stories. Can you just tell me what to do? Gosh, that hurts because I love telling stories and I love giving metaphors. No, I can't just tell you what to do. Because if I'm just telling you what to do, then I'm making a list of to-dos and having you check off those boxes to my satisfaction. That's not how we grow. That's not how you grow. So I challenge you, let Jerry putt. When you find opportunities to adjust the scenario, make decisions for yourself. Rewind that situation, right? My boss could have come to me and said, hey, I want to be up at that green in 7 minutes. I'd like 2 stripes cut in that green. Mission accomplished. Instead, it's do what I say, when I say it, on the point, can't be done. It's maybe not a little surprised that the Senior Players Championship moved off of the TPC Dearborn and that boss is no longer working there. He got good work out of people. But he got in the way that didn't give any opportunity for decision-making or growth. It was by the book. Works for the military, maybe? Not so much for your professional career. Anyway, that's Let Jerry Putt. I'll be back next week. I'm going to start a track on individual contributor and how you move from an IC to a leader in a company. Whether that be a management leader, a people leader, or a subject matter expert. We're going to walk through that journey together next week. See you then. Have a great weekend. Take care, everybody. Find me at larsenbridge.com.